Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now this is video 4 in our Revit beginner series, and in today's video we're going to be working on the architectural model. So these are actually plans and sections for a building that I worked on a while back. They are architectural plans, by the way. And what we are going to be doing is we'll be exporting every single one of these as individual DWG files that we can then import into Revit so that they serve as guidelines for us to replicate the architectural model. So what we are going to do is we select each plan like this. We select one and we are going to be using the W block function. So we type WB and press enter. And this is what we are going to see. Over here, what we really need to take note of is the destination. So you click here to be able to specify where you want to save the file. Now this folder is okay for me, so I'm just going to type a name. So something like GL, then I'll add arc so that I can tell that it's an architectural file. And I click on save, go to OK. So yeah, this file has been saved. And for now, I'll do the same for a section view. So I select everything, type WB, navigate to the folder. I could name this one section AA, add arc like this, click on save, and okay. Yeah, so the two files have been exported successfully. So let's go to Revit. And we are going to start a new project. We're not going to work in the same project file that we used the first time. So we go to models, go to new, and we are not going to be using any of these two. We go to browse. Since this is the English Imperial folder, we go a step back, select English, and we go with the construction default metric template, this particular one. Click on OK. Okay. So this is our new project. Now to be able to insert the CAD files, we look for the insert tab, which is right over here. So we click on insert and we look for import CAD, which is this option. So we select it and now we browse to where we saved the files. So in my case, I saved it in the document in the desktop folder. And here I am. Now this is the level 1 floor plan. As you can see, it says level 1 over here. So what I would want to import into this view would be the ground floor plan, right? Because ground floor and level 1 correspond. So I select ground floor and we have a bunch of options here, right? What we have is positioning. You see positioning over here. Typically you wouldn't have to change this because Revit automatically tries to position the DWG for you. Then you can select where you want to place the DWG you are importing. So in our case, since we want it to be on the ground floor level, which is level 1, we maintain this. We look at the import units, which is also typically determined for us. Revit scans the file, tries to determine the unit in which it was saved, and yeah, uses that. Now you see layers / levels. Now if you want to load up your DWGs with the same colors that the layers in AutoCAD had, you leave these layers on / levels on, and you would set the colors to preserve. But if you wanted to import only the visible layers, you change this to visible. Or if you wanted to import only specific layers, you would have to specify which ones you want to import. And if you'd also like to instead import the colors as just black and white, so whether red, blue, whatever, it would save it as either black or white. You choose this option. So you play around with these two to change the layers that are imported and the colors of the layers that are imported. But for now, we can just maintain all of these and click on open. And yeah, our DWG has been loaded successfully. Now let's do the same for the section view. To import a section view, we will typically have to create our own section and place it in, but for now we can place it in any of the elevations. So I'll go to my north elevation and I do the same thing. I go to insert, go to import CAD, and I select the section AA. We can maintain all of these for now. I go to open and it has been imported, so I'll just try to look for it since it wasn't here, and I can see it over here. Now this brings me to another important thing. If for any reason you import your DWG and it's missing, like you try scrolling, try panning, doing all sorts of things, and you still can't find it, it helps for you to double press the middle mouse button. So I press it twice and that sort of brings everything into perspective. So if you're also working in your file and for some reason you scrolled out too much like this and you just can't find where your drawings are, you can just double press the middle mouse button and it brings all the stuff in your project into perspective in that view. So we are going to move this from where it is to over here, but you'd realize that if I was to select this, press MV, try to move it, it wouldn't move. Revit will tell you that you cannot move pinned elements, right? By default, if you load in any DWG, it's pinned. So what you do is to select it, and you can see, right, that there are some two blue circles. They are a bit difficult to see at first, so you just click and you sort of look till you see them. If for any reason you can't see them, what you do is you select like this, and over here you see an unpin option, this one, the thumb tag, and you click and now it's unpinned. Or if this were to be pinned again, you would click on the circles and it's unpinned, right? And we can now move. So I used MV, I clicked and brought it here. Now the ground floor plan level would correspond with our level 1 level. So I select this, type MV. Now I click on a point on this line like this, move it to level 1 like that. So as you can see, ground floor, level 1 are corresponding. We don't need any of these for now, so we can select them, press delete, and it would also delete any views, right, that were created for these levels. I click OK, and it says that an import instance has become invalid. It's not a problem, we can just click on rehost, and yeah, now we have level 1, level 2. So what we can start doing is replicating these levels. Now if we look at level 1, right, which corresponds to the ground floor plan, it's supposed to be at 450, not 0. So I'll change this to 450, and it's also named ground floor plan. Maybe we can leave out the plan but still type ground floor like this, and we'll rename the corresponding view. If we look at level 2, it's supposed to be at 3750 instead of 4000. So I select, I can type 3750, rename it to first floor like this, and I could just copy this, click on a point, bring it here, copy here and here like this, and rename them. So this will be second floor, this third floor, and this would be service floor like that. And now we have all the levels that we need for now. We'll probably have to create some other levels so we get to this level of the roof, but for now this is okay. So let's go to our ground floor plan, and you should see this, right? This is actually the section view that we imported in the north elevation. It is showing over here, but because it's a vertical view, over here it's showing us this line. We can hide this since it's going to be intrusive. So we just right click and we should see hide in view and elements. So we just hide that particular element and it's no more here. But if we go back to north, it's visible. So the hide command only works for that particular view that you are in. And what we are going to do is we are going to draw the same grid lines that we have over here. There are two ways by which you can do that. So if you go to architecture, you select grid. We can either draw the grid lines ourselves, right, using the existing lines as the references. We can draw the lines ourselves like this. Or if we go to architecture, go to grid or type GR, we can use this very last option, which is the pick lines option. So if we click on pick lines, we would select the existing lines in the DWG. So if I was to just click on this line, you see it's automatically created a grid line at that same position. So I could name this as 1A like that. If I wanted to create 1, I could use pick lines, but what we would realize is, sorry about that, what we would realize is there is no bubble here. So I have to click here, creates a bubble, and I would instead copy this one since I added a bubble to it. Place it at the position of 1. Rename this to 1. Do the same with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 9A. Rename this to 9A. Alright, so we'll do the same with the horizontal grid lines. But I'm sure you realize that our grid bubbles are quite large, especially compared to what we have in the architectural file. And you would also see that some of the layers in the DWG look really thick. The lines are really thick. A quick fix would be for us to reduce the view scale. As it stands now, if we look at the bottom left side, our view scale is set to 1 in 100, but we can change this to something like 1 in 50. Yeah, and if we do, this actually seems like the perfect value. Our grid bubbles decrease in size and our lines also became thinner. Maybe not as thin as we still want them to be. So you realize that if I kept decreasing, now you see the lines are even thinner. And look at the size of our grid bubbles now. So what we can do is maybe keep this at something like 1:50. This looks kind of okay for now. And we can actually change the layer settings for these lines. I can tell there are lines for the walls. And that brings us to another section of Revit. That's the view properties. So for each view that we are in, so like this floor plan view, that's the ground floor, we can customize how things look. Think of it as like how in AutoCAD you had this, right, the layer properties tab. So for each layer you could turn it on, turn it off, change the color, you could change the line weight, the line style, right, the line type, all of those things. You can do the same in Revit. And to do that, we would access the view properties window. The shortcut for that is VV. So you can use VV, you can use VG, and over here we see a bunch of stuff. So where we see model categories is where all the families that are in the project are listed. So what we can do is we can actually turn on or off families that we don't want to be visible in a particular view. So if in this view I want just my walls to show and I have stuff like doors and windows in, I could turn all of them off over here and in this particular view only the walls would be visible. If I also wanted to change settings with imported stuff like CAD files, I'll go to imported categories, as you can see over here, this imported categories tab, and Revit is going to list all the files that I've imported. So I can see GF arc, I can see section AA. So the first thing that I can do here is, if I want to turn off a certain DWG in a particular view, if for any reason I want to hide the ground floor DWG, for example in this view, I can simply uncheck this and apply, and you see it's hidden, but we still need it. Now if I click on this plus, I gain access to all the layers that are in this ground floor DWG, and I can turn off individual layers. So let's see if we'll find a layer for walls. I can see a wall, and it seems like it's the only layer for walls. If I wanted, I could turn just this layer off, and you see all the wall lines are hidden. Aside that, I could also change the lines. So if we go to override under lines, I can change the color of the lines. If I wanted them to be red like this, I could change them to red. Maybe we should even leave it at red. If I wanted to change the weight, I could select a value here. Maybe let's do 1. Let's see how 1 looks. And yeah, so this has changed to 1. But it seems like the grid lines and the walls have the same color. Yeah, I can try blue for now. Make the weights like 2. Apply. And yeah, now our lines are thin enough. We can see everything. So let's continue with the grid lines. I type GR. I draw the very first one. I rename it to A1. Now there's no bubble here, so I select, check this box, and I copy using CO, select a point on the line, select the new location. This is B, so I rename it to B, select it, copy again, C, D, this is D1. I have my D1 now. So I believe we have all the grid lines now, and you can see that he broke the grid lines just so that they wouldn't be overlapping as we have it right now. So I can select 3 and click on this break symbol, and you see it's now broken. We do the same with 8, break it. 9 seems to be lower, so I can select this, drag it up. Let's see, there's no breakage in the horizontal ones, so I select this 3, break it, select 8 and break it, and I move my 9 so it's aligned, and that should be all. You now have all the grid lines. So to turn off the DWG, so I can visualize what we've done so far, we type VV, like I said, go to imported categories, turn off GF arc, and here are grid lines. So let's turn them back on. VV, imported categories, ground floor arc, on. So what we're going to do now is to draw the walls on the ground floor. Now let's look at the north elevation. Well, we can't tell much from here for now, so we are just going to draw our walls moving from the ground floor level to the first floor level. So architecture, go to wall, and we have the generic 200 mm wall. But before we actually draw the wall, let's press escape and measure the dimension of this particular wall. I can see that it's 150, so it's not 200. So what we'll do is we will create our own wall family. We don't have any 150 wall family here. So I edit this 200 one. I duplicate, type 150 like this, and I edit it. I edit the structure, change this to 150, go to OK, apply, OK, and now I have my generic 150 wall family. And because I didn't edit the existing one, I still have both options in case there's any 200 wall in this building. So let's start drawing. What we'll do is we click here, come and click here, I see that the wall ends somewhere here, so I click, I press escape because I'm not going to continue in any other direction around here. I also come to this side, click, come down here, and this wall seems to go all the way here, so I can just click. The wall comes all the way here. Yes, sometimes it comes all the way here. And here I can create this wall as well. All goes here and to this point. You have another wall here which starts and continues all the way to here. Yes, you have another one. It starts and start from the bottom. Starts here and around here. Okay, and what is left? We have another wall from here to here, another one from here and here. You can end it at this point. Revit will automatically join it with the walls that we create here. We have another one like this and like that. So let's see. Now remember how I said to be able to place stuff like doors, you need to have a wall there. I can tell that there's a door here. To be able to place this door, we need to have a wall there. So I'll draw the wall, the same over here. Now let's see. Okay, so we have some walls here, but these walls look thinner than 150, so I'll measure using DI, and yeah, they're actually 100 millimeters. So using the same procedure, I select wall, I can edit this one, duplicate, create a 100 wall type, edit the type, change this to 100. Sorry, but I have to move a bit fast because we have a lot to cover in this video. Go to apply. Okay, now we have a 100 wall, so I can click like this, like this, and like this. Looking at it, seems like we have all the walls that we need for now. There is also going to be a wall here. It might not be so visible now, but it looks like we have a curtain wall at this side. Just to be safe, I'm going to draw my own wall. This is where it shows that I'm not really an architect, but I'll try to replicate things as best as possible. So I can draw another wall here. Don't worry too much about its position. At the end of the day, we are going to insert a curtain wall inside it. So we have this, and we can go straight to adding our doors. Now, because we drew the walls, you see they are overlapping the areas where you can tell that there are doors and windows. I think there are some windows here. Yeah, now we can see that there is a window here. what we can do to help with that is we can change the current view style. If we look at this part of our screen, the visual style is set to hidden line. When you're using hidden line, you can't see stuff that are below, right, if they are overlapping with other things. But if we were to change it to wireframe like this, we are able to see sort of like an x-ray of everything, so everything shows whether it's covered or not. And now I can see my windows again. So to add our windows, we go to architecture, select window, or you see that it shows you that the shortcut for windows is WN, door DR, wall WA. So I select window, and this looks like a double casement window if I remember correctly. This wouldn't fit, so let's see if we have casement double. This kind of looks okay. Well, we could use this since the goal isn't to like replicate the architectural model 1:1. We could use this, right? But it looks smaller, so let's measure. Let's try measuring. It's 1800, so it means that whichever window we add should be a window with a width of around 1800. So still selecting this one, you can edit the type and change the width over here to 1800. But one other thing I would like to show you guys is, if for any reason these windows are not nice enough for you, you want to add a different type of window, you can always load in more families. So with Revit, everyone has like the ability to create their own families, and you can save the families as files. They should be a .rfa file, and we have the ability to import families, so I can send you families that I have created. But what we'll do is, while in architecture window like this, architecture window like this, and we go back there, we can load in a family. So if I click here under mode, I click on load family. Because I have done this before, you would have probably been in the English Imperial folder. You would see something like this, right? This is not where you want to be, because we use stuff that are based on UK content. So like we use UK measurements. Our families are also UK families, but this is the US folder. So you go back and back again, so you see English, just like with the template files. Go to English, then you select UK, not US, and now you scroll till you see Windows. So I see Windows over here, double click, and we have quite a number of options. You can click and have a preview of things, and just cycle through with the arrow keys till you see something that looks good enough. Well, this kind of looks okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think this one kind of looks okay. So I could open. When I click on open, it's going to load the family to the project, and this is the family. This is it. Let's look at it in 3D. Okay, now in our 3D view, if you look at our walls, they are actually unconnected, right? Because we didn't specify where we wanted them to end. Revit just assumed a value of 8,000 for us. We'll deal with that later. First, I can see that the section and the plan view, this one, are showing in my 3D view. I don't want that to happen. So what I'll do is I'll press VV, go to imported categories, hide GF arc, hide section AA. like this, so that we now have just the model. And to be able to change where all of the walls go up to, I can select one, right click, select all instances, visible in view. So I've probably only selected the 150 walls, like you can see. Then I change the top constraint to first floor, and you see all of them have moved. I can do the same with these 100 walls. I was able to select all of them, right click, just in case, select all instances, change the top constraints to first floor, and they all move just like that. And what I can also do is I can change this view style that we have. I realize that the shadows are not showing. One way that you can change that is to turn on this thing, right? Shadows are set to off by default. So depending on the GPU that you use, this could slow down your Revit application, but my GPU will be able to handle it. When I turn that on, my shadows are showing. Things look a bit better now. I could even change this to textures, right, or realistic, and it kind of looks realistic now. It does look better than before. But what I wanted us to look at is the window. The window doesn't look too good. I doubt that this is what the architect wanted to use. What we can fix first is the width. So with this selected, instead of editing this particular family, right, well, let's first look at the casement double, see if it actually looks better. And yeah, funny enough, the old casement double family looks better. So I feel like we should just edit this particular one, go to ground floor, and I remember that we are supposed to have a width of around 1800. So what we'll do is we edit this one, we duplicate it, and rename it to 1800 since we are changing the width. And let's make the width over here under dimensions 1800. And as you can see, it has adjusted successfully. We go to our 3D view and we have a much better looking window. All right, so in the ground floor plan, we can select this and choose create similar, right? So we type CS and place the window at all the places in the ground floor plan that we have that type of window. So I see here to place it there, see here, click to place it, and that looks like all. Now let's look at this second window type. It's 900. Let's first check if we have, because I remember seeing a 900 somewhere. Yes, 850 by 900. This will probably be a tad smaller. Yes, so it's actually a bit smaller than what we want. And it even looks like the position might be wrong. Let's look at the ground floor again. This is a living area. So if anything, this is actually supposed to be a bit higher. Now we can look at this view actually. If we turn on wireframe over here as well, do we have any of the short windows showing? No, we don't. But we can assume that this is a height, so it should be around 1400. Okay, it's 1800. So we can change both the height and the width of this window. We'll edit the width only a little because it looks slightly smaller. You can duplicate this, create a new type, make it 900 instead of 850, and change the width to 900 and make the height around 1800. Let's view this in 3D. Okay, this looks much better now. What we can do now is look at the sail height. So just like with the last video, The sail height is the distance from the base level to where the window starts. In this case, the sail height is 1200, so I'll change this one to 1200 as well, and everything is lined up nicely. So now we can place instances of this window everywhere it appears. So I go to CO, or I can use create similar. First I need to save the project. Just make a arc model like this. There's an instance of a window here. I click. Now, yes, I know this is a different type of window. This window doesn't have the double casement, right? But I just feel like this looks better to me. I'm sure the architect will see this video and laugh, but yeah, it's my own design style. Click here. Place it here. Then I place it here as well. What about inside? Inside, I don't see any windows. So that should be it. And let's see it in 3D. We have our windows. Yeah, we have everything done. So the next thing we can do is to add the doors. With the doors, they look like pretty generic doors. So let's go to architecture, choose door, and we could even try this very one. Okay, so it seems like it's a bit smaller. It's smaller. Let's try measuring first. I'm sure everything looks so crowded now. So you can change back to hidden line. But if we do that, we can measure the door dimensions. So I'll use DI, check this, and I'm seeing 1200. So I go to door. What I can do is to edit this particular door type, duplicate, make this 1200, and yeah, I change the width to 1200, and this actually looks okay now. Now you can see that the door is actually in a different direction. This one is facing the left side instead of the right. Before you place a door, you can flip it. So you can flip using spacebar like this. See, it changes the direction even before you place it. Though after placing it, you can still flip it, but it just helps sometimes. Just do this before you place. And yeah, we've placed a door. It doesn't match things 100%. We could change stuff like, well, I guess we can just maintain all of this for now. We'll have to go a step further in editing it, but this looks okay. Let's see if we can find it in 3D. Alright, so there's the door. Yeah, it looks okay for now. So let's create similar instances of this door wherever we have one. This is actually bigger, but looks like there's another example of that door here. So I click and I can create this small door type, this smaller one. Let's first check with our existing doors. This is slightly bigger. We can try 864. Okay, this looks okay enough. So I press space to flip it. And I place it here. Space. Place it here. Place this one too. And I think we have all the doors covered now. So this is it in 3D. You can see inside the building, we have everything. So what we can add now is a staircase, then probably the floor. Maybe we should even work on the floor first. It might be a bit difficult to see for now, but the floor follows the shape, moves like this. There's a staircase here, so our floor will come like this, go like this. There's another staircase, so to go in that shape. I guess you can see what I'm showing you. Goes down like this, it comes up. So we go to architecture, you look for floor, and typically for residential buildings we would have a 150 mm thick slab, so you choose this one. Level, ground floor, no height offset. And because we already have lines and walls, we can select whether we want to pick lines or want to pick walls. But in this case, we can't use pick walls for everything, since, for example, this area doesn't have a wall that we can pick. But we can start with that for now. Just keep picking walls. We'll have to do some trimming over here. Pick this one, pick this one, pick this one as well, pick this, pick this wall. Yeah, so I have to draw the lines on this side. I can pick this wall as well. Now, just like I said before in the very last video, you can't have intersecting lines and you can't have spaces, right? Areas where the loops are enclosed. We want to have a line that goes all the way like this. So we can actually press escape to exit out of the pick walls command. Select this one, delete it. So we want to join this wall, this line, and this line like that. Now we need to do some trimming, just like the trimming that we do in AutoCAD. So we are going to use the trim extend command in Revit. Now it works a bit differently from the trim command in AutoCAD. So to access the trim extend command, you select this one, right? Or you type TR. Now, how the trim command works is, if, for example, you have a line like this, right, and there's a side you want to trim out and a side you want to keep. So in this particular instance, we want to trim out this side so that we have a shape like this, and we want to keep the upper portion of the line. What we do is we select the part of the line that we want to keep. So if you are clicking, you click somewhere around this upper side, then you actually select the other line that is intersecting it, right? And yeah, as you can see, it removed the lower part of the line. So if I was to do the inverse, I selected here, this bottom side, selected this, you see that it would remove the upper side, which isn't what we want. So I'll select this like that. Now it's trim / extend. So if in the same vein we have a space like this, but we want to join these two lines, we want to join them, we can extend this line to hit this one, right? And in effect, it's going to trim out this top portion. So I would click here, click on the bottom part, since it's a part of this line that I want to keep. And yeah, you see, it removed that part and it extended this one to hit it. So I'll do the same here. I want to keep the bottom part, so I click here. Now with this one, I want this line to come and hit this one, and at the same time I want to trim out the excess portion of the line, which is at the bottom part. So I click and I click at the top part, and yeah, it trims it nicely. Okay, everything looks like it's closed over here, and I think that is it. So you can look at it in 3D. We have this nice shape here. Now if we look at the floor plan, you can see that we have something like a terrace over here. we have something like a terrace. Typically, the material that you'd use for the inner part, right, this inner slab, would be different from what you'd use for the terrace. So if you are going to be using proper reinforced concrete, you could end up using something like mass concrete for this side. Or if it's like it's going to be filled with soil, yeah, you'd have that. So we are going to create a different slab for this part. So we go to architecture, go to floor, and this time we are going to use pick line. We are not going to use pick walls because we don't have any walls to pick. Now pick lines is right next to pick floors, so it's over here. You select it, then you start drawing. So I click, click like this. I want this line as well, so I can click here and like that. And what we'll do is we are going to use the trim extend tool. So you either select this or you type TR and you start using trim extend just like this, and it seems fine. We have the same pattern over here. Now we could either go through the stress of redrawing the slab here, right? But that would take some time. Another thing we can do is we can use the mirror tool, just like the one that we have in AutoCAD. So if I want to mirror these lines to the other side, I just select all of them like this. And there are various types of mirror tools that we can use. So we have the mirror, in which you draw the axis line. So you draw the line yourself. If you want the mirror to be about this line like this, and you see it moves, but it's not at the middle. So if I knew like the perfect point, which coincidentally happens to be grid line 5, I could draw a line through grid line 5. Or I could also use the mirror tool and pick the axis. So I could pick an existing line. So if I picked grid line 5, you see that it would actually mirror it quite correctly. Now stuff seem to be a bit shifted, which is probably because the file, right, this plan is not really symmetrical. Probably in doing some of the things he shifted things a bit. So I can just move this slightly so it's properly symmetrical like that, and there we have it. Doesn't seem like there's any other instance of this type of floor. So I select OK, and we could actually assign a different family to this particular floor, right? So let's edit type and duplicate, and you could even call this terrace like this, terrace 150 mm, and apply. And in 3D, this is what we have. So it's looking good. It's looking good. The next thing we can do is add our staircase. But before we add the staircase, let's shift back to hidden line. I think we've done most of what we need to do, and we could even start hiding some of the layers so that our work sort of looks clean. It's not so distracting. So I use VV, go to imported categories, ground floor arc, and I can start hiding things right till it seems like I've hidden something which I actually need. Let's apply for now. Everything seems fine. We don't need grade anymore since this seems like it's for the stairs, right? So I'll keep these ones. We don't need grade anymore. Annotation, no, we don't need wall. Let's apply, and yeah, it seems like now we only have the staircase stuff, which is okay. Dealing with staircases, right, can be a bit daunting. Alright, so before we draw the stair, I'd like to introduce you to a couple of things. So if I was to look at a section of a typical stair, we would have something like this. Yes, we would have something like this. Now, it would be made up of some vertical parts, which are these ones, and some horizontal parts, these ones. These vertical parts are what we call risers, and the horizontal ones are what we call treads. If I was to measure the horizontal distance between two risers, what I would get would be the tread depth. So the tread depth is the horizontal distance, this one, and usually the value would be constant throughout. And now if I was to measure this vertical distance between two treads, so like this, I would get the riser height, which is also typically a constant value. Now, looking at the plan view of the stair, you can see that it's made up of this, which we'll call the run. Now, the run is a part of the stair where you are either ascending or descending. So, where you actually change your current vertical position. Then, after a run, you meet what we call the landing. So, a landing is basically like the resting area before you start climbing up or climbing down. And right after this landing, we have another run. So this particular staircase type has two runs and a single landing. We can measure the distance from here to here, and this would be the width of our run. And we could also measure this distance and that one. So these would also be the dimensions of our landing. Now we could check like the specific parameters for this particular stair. So if I want to check, for example, the riser height or the tread depth, I could go to the DWG that we imported. And you can see that I had already measured them. So if you look at the treads, our tread depth is 300 and the value is constant throughout. And our riser height is 150. It doesn't change. All right. So let's go to architecture. Then we click on stair. And this is the stair creation tool. Before we actually place the stair components, let's make sure that we select the right stair family. And in this case, it is a monolithic stair. So it's this one. Cast in place monolithic stair. This stair will be made of something like concrete. That's the typical construction material that we'd use. Be sure to always select the appropriate family before you start, because if I was to start with something like this 190 max riser, place the stair, finish, and later change it to the monolithic stair, some of the dimensions wouldn't transfer accurately. So maybe if my riser height was specified as 150, after changing it to the correct one, which is the monolithic stair, it could probably reduce, right? So just so you don't have to go through the trouble of increasing or reducing stuff, make sure you always choose the right family first. And now that we have the right family selected, we have the typical constraints. That's the base level, top level. Because we want this stair to go from the ground floor to the first floor, we are not going to change any of these. We are not going to specify any offset value. What we are going to go to is here. Now, under dimensions, we see desired number of risers. Then we see actual tread depth. We have already measured this actual tread depth and found it to be 300. So what we need to change here is actually the desired number of risers. Now for this particular stair, we can just count them because we already have risers. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we have 12 over here, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, then 22. So it means that we have 12 risers. And we can see here that we have the run width. Where we measured, it was 1200. So make sure this value over here is set to 1200. And if we have automatic landing checked, what happens is all we have to do is draw the two runs. So I'll just draw this one, draw that one, and Revit would automatically add a landing in between the two. We also see a location line option, currently set to run left, but by default it should be set to run center. What this means is that in drawing our run, we are going to be using a reference line that is in the middle of the run that we want to draw. So in this particular case, with this set to center, I assume that this is the center line of the run. It could actually be a bit offset, but that's fine. You can see that my stair is being placed and that line passes through the middle of the stair, so that's fine. But before we draw this landing, let's change the desired number of risers to the value that we counted, that is a 22. Make sure you do this, else if you start drawing and you are trying to change, you might run into some issues. So assuming this is the center point, I can draw my first run. Now the reason why it's like this is because we also didn't change the tread depth. So we can delete this, draw the run again, and this time make sure everything is right. So we have desired number of risers set to 22 and this tread depth set to 300. And if we draw the stair, yes, it should match. So we have this first run, and with the second run, instead of using the location line at the center, you can change it to something like run left. So what this means is that in drawing the stair, I'm going to be using a reference line that is at the left side of the run. Now if this is where we start climbing, come all the way up, meets the landing, and now we are facing this part of the run from this direction, this would be our left side, this would be our right side. So this is the left location line. If I click here and I click here, you see that my second run has been drawn and the landing has been added. So if I was to instead use the right location line, it would mean that I would have to draw using this line as a reference point. So here, like that, I click, and as you can see, it's been drawn. Revit is telling us that the rail is not continuous, but it's not such a big deal. We can go to 3D, look at our stair, it's looking okay. We can actually remove this railing if we feel like we don't like it. And aside removing it too, we can change the material of the railing. So if I want it to be glass, so it's now glass. I can change this one to change to a glass panel, and that's okay. All right, now the next thing we can add are the sections. If you look, we have section AA and section BB. I have already imported section AA, so we don't have to do much work there, but we also need to export this one so that we can import it. So I select everything, type WB, press enter. Now I specify where I want to save it. Oh, so I actually did save section BB. I can just select this, save, and I'm going to replace that file. Now before we actually place AA and BB, let's try to figure out where the section lines pass through. So if I look at AA, compare with BB, AA seems to pass through the shorter length of the building, while BB passes through the longer length of the building. And I can also see how the section of my stair looks in AA compared to how it does in BB. If I look at the plan, it looks like AA passes through here, facing either this direction or that direction. So it will be either here or here, and BB will be here, around this point, facing here. So you can go back to Revit, and to draw a section, I'll just go to the top over here, see the section symbol, click, and all I have to do is draw the line for the section that I want to draw. So for AA, I would start from somewhere like this and just click, and just like that, section AA of this building has been created. It should be named section 1. So in the project browser, you can go to sections, section 1, and rename it to section AA. Yes. Now, if we were to click on this section, this line, right, we'll see that there's this faint blue line that appears with some arrows. These actually represent the bounding box of section AA. So if I was to move this line to somewhere like this, what it means is section AA would only show parts of the building within this bounding box. So in this section, as it stands now, we should only see this part, this run, and the landing, and maybe part of this wall. We wouldn't see this run, this second run, because the extent doesn't reach it. So if we were to go to our project browser, click on section AA, yes, you see that we only see the very first run. So I can select it, drag it somewhere like this, go to section AA. Now both runs show, but I'm going to drag it all the way to the end of the building like that. Yes, so we have section AA. To draw section BB, I will do the same thing. I will go to section like this and click. I have section BB. Now in the same vein, if I was to drag this all the way to this point, I would only see this part of the landing and these two walls, because they are the components within the boundary of this section, right? So if I go to, okay, now it's been named section 1. Let's rename it to section BB. If I was to double click on section BB, yes, you can see that just the landing and the walls are visible at that side. But if I was to go back to ground floor, select it and drag it, let's see, to this point, go back to BB. Now only part of the stair shows, right? You can see half of this one, half of that one. If I was to drag it all the way to here, we will see, yes, everything just like that. I can extend this a bit more because we are going to be adding in the AutoCAD section. Now, adding sections is a bit different, right, from like the straightforward procedure you'd have if you were to add a plan view, like how we added the ground floor plan view. So just try to follow everything that I do. I go to section AA because this is where I want to import the DWG. I go to insert, I go to import CAD. Now I select section AA. Make sure that your positioning is not at auto, something like center to center or internal origin. Sorry. Be sure to set this to manual origin like this. Make sure that it's oriented to the view like that. Click on OK, and we have to click So click anywhere within this view like that. I just click here, and Revit tells us that none of the created elements are visible. So this is what I meant here. First thing we do is zoom out, and no, it doesn't look like the sectional view is visible here. I'll go to my ground floor plan, zoom out. Yeah, it also doesn't seem like it's here. Now let's check an elevation view. So north, and yes, you see the line. This line is actually the DWG, so it was imported, just that it wasn't visible. It was far off. So I'll select it, type MV, and move it up like that, so that it's within this area. Now let's go back to section AA. Do we see it now? No, we don't. That's fine. Let's go to the ground floor plan, and yes, I can see section AA in the ground floor plan now. Let's move it inside the building like this. Now, because of the fact that this DWG is not within the boundary, see this bounding box that we specified for section AA, this thing is not going to show. So to get it to show in that view, I'm going to move it inside the bounding box, this bounding box. So now we should see AA when we go to the view. Yes, I see it now. Woohoo, congratulations everyone. Here we got the section to show. Okay, now the section is showing, but it's not aligned. I don't know if you can tell. Ground floor. So we are going to click on the DWG. Make sure you don't click on any of the elements in the Revit file except the DWG, and we are going to move just the DWG, ground floor to ground floor. Yes, now it's aligned, and we can use some reference points to sort of move the DWG into the right position, because it's not. Look at where the staircase in the DWG is and where it is in the Revit file. So I'm going to switch to wireframe so I can see everything, and I can actually tell that looks like the DWG was flipped, right? This is at the left side, but over here it's at the right, and we can flip this as well quite easily. What we do is we go to ground floor. Now this is the file, right? We can use the rotate tool, which is this one. We can type RO, that is with this selected, type RO, and we are going to select sort of like the axis of rotation, the axis line. So I can select any line on the DWG, and you are going to select another point. Make sure that it's perfectly horizontal. You click and you just drag to the other side. You see there's a certain value that is specifying the angle of rotation. So I reach 180 and I click again. It doesn't look like anything happened, but the DWG has actually been flipped to the other side. So if I go to AA, yes, you can see now that the staircase in the DWG is now on the left side. So I'm going to move it. So I'll move this side to here. So I select the DWG, press MV, yes, and I do that. Okay, so if I switch back to hidden line, yes, everything seems to be in the right position now. Okay, let's do the same for section BB. But before that, we can actually hide this. If this is disturbing you, you can hide it in the view. So right click, hide in view elements, or I go to VV, go to imported categories, can turn off section AA like that. It's going to be hidden, but I won't mind to still be there for now. So go to section BB. We are going to import the section BB file. So we go to insert, go to import CAD, and we choose section BB. Make sure this is set to manual. This is set to orient to view. I click on open. Now, just like before, let's click somewhere within the view. Good, and it's been placed. Revit is now telling us that none of the created elements are visible. So just like it was with section AA, let's explore. Let's go to the ground floor, see if we can find section BB. So no, I don't see section BB. Let's go to north elevation. What do we have here? It's AA that I'm seeing. Yes, and you can see BB as well. We are going to move BB to somewhere like this. That's fine. We can actually align the levels over here. So I select the ground floor level, move it to, this should be my ground floor level. So I move it to this point. Yes, and it's aligned like that. And what I can do next is see if it's visible in the ground floor plan now. Yes, now it's visible in the ground floor plan. But as you can see, it is outside the bounding box of section BB. So I select it, press MV, and move it up like that. Now it's within the bounding box. Maybe I'll move it to the left, to the right a bit, like that. Okay, here's section BB, and yeah, we can see section BB. Now I'll drag this till everything is showing, and let's try to align the DWG. To make life easier, we can actually use the grids. But first, you see that this is 1A, this is 9A. It means that we also have to flip this file. You have to flip this file as well. So you go to ground floor, make sure you have section BB selected, go to rotate. You can select any point on BB, preferably close to the middle. So I can select here, and when it's horizontal or vertical, I click, then I move to the other side where it says 180. Good. We go back to BB. Yes, 1A, 1A, 1, 1. So I'll select this. Now be careful not to move it vertically, because we have already aligned the levels vertically. What we want to do is align things horizontally. So I'll click on 1A here, move it to 1A, and everything should now be aligned perfectly. Good. So you have a fair idea about where everything is supposed to be. Yes, this is how it would look. The next thing we can do is to add our first floor. Yes, we have successfully completed the ground floor. There are some things which we still have to add, like the curtain wall that is supposed to be here, but we'll do that later. So let's take a look at our first floor. I can tell that there are some similarities, like some of the walls in the ground floor actually continue to the first floor, though like some of the shapes change. So this shape is different, that one is different, and yeah, even these slabs are different, but it's fine. We can still work with what we have. What we can do is, before we even create the first floor, we can select all the walls. So you select one, go to select all instances visible in view. Now that selects all the 150 mm walls. We have some 100 mm walls. You can select those as well manually. Then let's change the top constraints. Currently it's been set to first floor, but we now realize that some of the walls are also on the first floor, continue to the second floor, and set it to second floor. Then if we were to go to our first floor plan, we'll have some walls here, but It seems like I have a DWG here. Let's quickly check. Yes, it's my ground floor plan. It's showing in my first floor plan. I don't want that, so I'll deselect it, click on apply, and yeah, we have our first floor plan with the walls. Just that this is not the correct position of some of the walls. We can actually hide these two in this particular view. So I select them, right click, then I look for hide in view. Yes, and I select elements, and now they are hidden. What we are going to do is export this first floor plan. So I select everything, type WB, choose where I want to save it. So this one was JF, this one will be FF. I go to OK. That has been exported. And now I'll go to insert, I'll go to import card, select FF. I can change this back to center to center, and I click on open. Good. This has been imported in. What I'll do is I'll move this to align with the grid lines. So 1A, move to 1A. Let's check these ones. So A1 is the A1 in the DWG, this particular one, but it's supposed to move up. So I type NV and move it up like this. Good. Everything seems to be aligned now, but the line weights in this view are also quite thick, so I'll try reducing this first. Like 1 to 50. I think that's okay. Then I can change the view properties. So I go to imported categories, first floor, and we look for the wall layer, override. I change the weight to like 1 or 2. I can make it 2. Then we make the color blue. I think that was what we used for the ground floor. Go to apply. And yeah, so our walls are now blue and the lines are much thinner. Okay, so let's go back to the ground floor. We have some slabs that are missing on the first floor, and we probably need to add the doors again. But what we can do now is to add the slabs. So I go to architecture, I go to floor, then I can use pick line. So pick line is this option before pick walls. Right, choose pick line, can just start clicking like that. Then it's supposed to come here like that and like that. And what we have to do now is to trim these lines, because remember when we're drawing the column on the ground floor, I mentioned that you are not supposed to have any holes in your loop. So your loops are supposed to be closed and you shouldn't have intersecting lines, sort of like this. So these two are intersecting. They are supposed to trim so that everything is like just one continuous loop. So to do that, we are going to use the trim extend tool. Trim extend. You can access it from here. So this is it. Trim extend. If you want a shortcut, it's TR. Yes. Trim extend works a bit differently when we compare it to how it did in AutoCAD. Now, if I wanted to trim this part of the line off, what I'll do is I'll select the parts of the two intersecting lines that I want to keep. So you select the two parts that you want to keep, and Revit will automatically delete the parts that wasn't selected. With this line, I want to keep the top side, so I make sure I select in the top side of the line and I select here. Good. And you can see that it's been trimmed nicely. Now it's called trim extend, so it does both trimming and extending. If you have a situation like this where you want two lines to meet but they don't, you can extend them both. So I click here and click here. Good, and they extend. I'll do the same here and they extend nicely. So I have this first slab. We have one here. Let's see. Okay, we don't have any slab like that over here. So what I can do is I can go back to this slab creation, and that is assuming that this drawing is correctly symmetrical. I can mirror these lines to the other side nicely. The mirror tool is here. Now we have two options. We have the mirror pick axis and the mirror draw line. Now if we choose mirror pick axis, what we have to do is draw the axis line, so like the mirror line, and that line will have to be like at the center. So I choose it, and I'm assuming that this grid line 5 is actually at the center of the building. So if I click on 5, you see that it has been mirrored. It's been offset by like a very slight value, so it means that it's not perfectly symmetrical. That could be like just a minor mistake with a DWG. I could either do that or I could draw the axis myself. So if I select this, I would use this draw axis, and assuming that the axis is still where grid line 5 is, I just draw the line myself, and yes, it's been mirrored. So I'm going to move this just a little bit so that it's in the right position. All right, then good. So level correct. You don't have to change any of these things. Let's see it in 3D. So in our 3D view, we have all of these DWGs showing. We don't like that, so type VV, go to importer categories, turn off the sections, and this one as well. So we have a clean 3D view. All right, that looks okay. So go back to first floor, and let's start dealing with the issue of the walls that change position. I can tell that this wall no more goes all the way down. It stops somewhere around here. Yes, like that. Now because this is the position of the wall on the ground floor as well, we cannot change it on the first floor, because if we do, it would affect what we have on the ground floor. See, it's also selected. So what we'll do is we'll make this remain at the first floor like that. It won't go all the way to the second. So that would also be the same for this one. Then go to the first floor and now draw a new wall. So I select this, type CS to create similar, and I draw the wall like that. So I'll do the same over here like that. And the next thing we can do is to draw another wall that would pass through this part. If we were to extend this wall, it would reflect on the ground floor as well. So I'll do that, and you see that on the ground floor, yes, this is also extending, but that's not what we want. So instead, select this wall and make sure it only goes up to the first floor. Sorry, make sure it only goes up to the first floor like that. Select this one too, make sure it goes only up to the first floor. Then select this, create similar, draw my new wall. Okay, there's also another wall here like that, here, and we don't have this long wall anymore. We don't have it. So what we can do is select this, let it go only up to the first floor, so it's no more here. I can extend. No, if I extend this one, it means that it will do the same on the ground floor. So I select this and the corresponding one on the other side, and I change it to first floor. Then I can draw my new wall like that. I do the same here. Like that. It seems like on the left side we have most of the walls covered. We have most of them covered. So I do this. Click here. Click down here. And here. So what we do is, because we can't extend this wall, we select it, make sure it goes only up to the first floor level, then we draw a new one. Yes, just like that. Let's check it in 3D before we continue. Okay, that looks just about right. So we have another wall here. This wall, what we'll do is go to architecture, you can select wall, you can just select one, type CS and draw it. Okay, let it reach somewhere like this. We have another curtain wall here as well. Okay, let's check that in 3D. Yes, so we have a curtain wall throughout this entire section. There should be a wall on the first floor because I see a door here. So I type CS and draw a wall like this. And I do the same thing here. Sorry, it's not a door, it's a window. Imagine if it was a door, it would mean that, I would open this door would fall. It's a window. So let's check something, see if we have any overlay. Now the range of our overlay is currently set to ground floor, but I don't want us to have any overlay of the ground floor, so we set it to none. Base level none. Yes, that should prevent us from seeing anything on the ground floor level. This looks okay. So the stair seems to become wider. We will check that on the ground floor. Now let's see if this line is supposed to be there. Okay, it is. And that should be it for the walls on the ground floor. Okay, we have one here. Like that. I don't see any other wall. So what we can do now is copy the slab from the ground floor, bring it to the first floor. So to select the slab, we use the same method, start cycling till we have it like that. And we might as well Just see if you can copy some of the windows so that we don't have to draw them again. So we go to first floor. See that there's a door here. There's a door. These seem to be at the same position. Yeah, so I can select them. No, first let's select the slab. Okay, so my slab is selected. Select doors. Select this one, that one. Let's see if we can select. No, these windows are not at the same position. So I'll deselect this. These seem to be at the same position. You just have to shift them a little. Then, how we copy stuff from one level to another is we use this copy command. So under clipboard, you choose this one, copy to clipboard, and don't be in such a hurry to click on paste. Instead, click here and select aligned to selected levels. When we do that, we want to align it to the first floor. So make sure this is selected. Click on OK. And it's telling us that it can't place inserts outside of hosts. So it probably means that some of the windows that I selected, when pasted, were in the air. There wasn't any wall. So that wall had changed position. So that's fine. Let's go to first floor. And let's see. Okay, so our doors were added. You know, at this point, we can turn off some of the layers of the DWG. Yes, so alright, so we have everything off except the layers for the windows, layers for the doors, and the layers for the walls. So we can quickly add in our windows again. I pasted these ones from the ground floor. They are the correct position, but we still have some windows that we need to add, these ones. So what I'll do is go to architecture, go to window, and I would select one of these ones. I believe we created a family that we were going to use. That is the 900 by 900. So I'm going to create a 900 by 900 window. Go to window and I place it like that. I do the same over here. Place. 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 Okay, let's see. We also have to add these larger windows. So I'm going to check the family. So it's a 1800 by 1800. I go back to first floor. I switch to 1800 by 1800. I click. And I click here. That should be all. We have this, we have that. Let's look at it in 3D. Okay, so what we're going to fix now is a slab, because as you can see, there's some holes. There's some holes here, and we also need to add the space, right? This space in the middle for our staircase. So you go to first floor, and let's see. Okay, I can already select the floor. actually, but you can press tab, quickly cycle through, then you go to edit boundary. Now the boundary of the slab no more follows this line. It gets to this point, goes here, comes like this, like that, and like that. So we can actually draw the line like this, draw another line here, another one here, and join it here. Then we trim. I want to delete this portion of the line, so I'll select here and select the right side. I want to delete this one, so select here, click up, and we'll do the same here. We draw the lines, and we use the trim extend tool. Yes, so we have this. Every other shape seems to be okay. What is left is the space for our dearly beloved staircase. I can use the rectangle tool and use the boundary of the wall. Alright, so somewhere like this, and yeah, comes to this point. It says that there are walls. I can attach them. I can join the geometry. If there are any issues, we'll check. Good. So now I have my space for the staircase as it should be. Every other thing looks okay. Yes, every other thing looks okay. Just like that, we have our second floor. Now from here, the process is our first floor. Sorry, from here, the process is going to be the same. If I look at my second floor, it seems to have the same positions of stuff as the first floor. Third floor also seems to have that. So what we can do is I can actually copy everything on the first floor, just mirror to the second floor. Just like in doing that, if there are any walls that started from the ground floor, I can't copy them to the second floor. I also have some issues. So I select this. Matter of fact, I can select all the walls. So I select all instances, visible in view. Make sure not to select visible in project. I select all visible in view. Then I can change the top constraint. Since they are now going all the way to the beginning of the service floor, choose service floor like that. So if now we have only the ground and the first floor plans. So if I go to view, go to plan view, floor plan, can select second, service, third floor, and those views have been added. Good. So if I go to my second floor, the walls are there. Go to my service floor, because the service floor is where the walls end, they won't show here. Third floor, good, the walls are showing. So let's close all of these. I'll go to the first floor, since that's where we are going to copy the stuff from, and I'm going to select the windows, the doors, and the slabs. Yes, so the windows, the doors, and the slabs, those are the things that we're going to copy. So I can select one of the big ones, select one of the small ones, select this slab, right click, select all instances, visible in view. Right, so now I selected all my windows and all the slabs, like this one. Can select one door. I think there were two door types, another door type, do the same thing, visible in view. Then I go to copy, come here, select align to selected levels, and we are going to choose second and third for now. And if we look at our second floor, we have all of the windows. Go to our third floor, we have all of the windows and the doors. And let's check to see if we have our slabs. So we have our slabs too. It was also copied successfully. What we are going to do is we are going to copy this stair to the other levels, and we are not going to do it the same way we did when we're copying the windows. There's a much simpler procedure, and with that procedure we can use it for all the levels that are in the building. So I want us to go to a sectional view, so something like section AA. Let's first make sure that all the dimensions of the stair are how we want them to be, because if they aren't and we change the stair to a multi-story stair, so as a multi-story stair it would appear here and all the levels, it becomes very difficult to edit. Right now I can see that this landing is supposed to hit this wall, but it isn't. So I would go to ground floor, and yes, you see it's not hitting. So I press tab till I can select the stair, and I click on edit, and this landing, I double clicked on the landing like I was double clicking on a slab, and I'll just drag it to this side. It's okay. And yeah, you see even the railing moved as well. So if I look at it in a section view, section AA, good. So now it's properly aligned. Look at it in 3D as well. Good. It seems like all the properties of our stair are in order. So what we can do now is go back to a section view, select this stair, and we should see some options here. We have edit stairs or select levels. This is what we want. When we select the levels, it changes our stair to a multi-story stair. So basically it will duplicate it across all the levels where we want the stair to appear. Now what we have to do here is just keep selecting levels, right? The levels where the stair should reach. We want it to be on second, so press Ctrl when you're selecting third and reach the service floor. So I've selected these three. Like when I click on finish, good, you can see that our staircase has been duplicated on all those levels. So I go to 3D, and good, we have this over here like that. So we've actually covered most of the stuff, but let's say for some reason you wanted to see some of the things in the building in 3D, not in 2D, right? In 2D we could have section views, we have the plan views, but in 3D you have things appearing everywhere. So if you wanted to see like a door in 3D in one of the views, as one of the levels, it will be difficult. But just like how we can create a section in a 2D view, we can create a section in 3D. And how we'll do it is with a building showing like this, we start scrolling till we see section box, this section box over here, and now a box has appeared. When we click on the box, we see some arrows, right, in various directions. If I was to drag, for example, the top arrow down, what do you see? It's like it's cutting through the building to where the arrow ends, so you can see the various things on the various levels. So if you want to just see like a level, certain level in 3D, you can cut up to that point. If you want to see like a part here, you can also drag this. Good. So now I can see like a section of my stairs in 3D. So you get it. You can do that as well. So however you want to show your 3D view, you're at liberty. I believe that is all. Yes. So that is how you can add a section to your 3D view. Alright, so now we're going to work on the service floor. So if I double click on service floor, this is what we have. We have just the staircase, and that's fine. If for any reason you don't have your service floor, it means you probably haven't added it as a view. So you go to view, plan views, floor plan, make sure you select service floor so I can add it. And let's check our DWG. Alright, so this is our service floor plan. We can export it by selecting it, typing WB, choosing where we want to save it. So I'll save this as SF arc, like that. Go back into Revit, go to insert, import card, and choose SF arc. You can set this, make sure it's set to either auto, center to center, or origin to internal origin. You don't need to use manual anymore because it's a plan view. And yeah, this is our service floor plan. Let's quickly align it with what we have here. And I believe that should be it. I'll hide this. Okay, I don't need to hide it. But this is what we have. And you can see that we have this slab. We have this large slab over here. So anyone can access this part of the roof. And there are also some storage tanks here, some water storage tanks. Then on the left and right sides, we have some roofing. So this is the only accessible part of the service floor. We can look at what is in the sections just so that we get a clear picture of everything. So this section A, and drag this out in the air. So you can see the water tanks. See that you can access part of the service floor. Let's look at section BB. And yeah, section BB is actually an even better picture of what's going on. So we have some short walls, right, at the areas where the roofing is going to be, the parts that are not accessible. Then I can see some coping. I can also see some roof gutters. So there's a roof gutter. And yeah, this is probably going to be, it looks like it's glass. If it's not glass, it's just going to be empty space. That's really an architectural thing. I'm sure there are like some more details on this, but because I didn't need them, they weren't provided. And we also have some walls here. So this wall goes all the way to a certain level, and it's higher than this one or even this one. So let me drag this up because it's in the way. And what I'll do is I'm going to add 2 more levels. So a level right around here and another one also right around here, just so I can reference the top parts of these walls. So what we'll do is I select the service floor and copy it with CO to this spot. Then I'm going to do the same, right, to this spot. And we have 2 new levels. Let's drag this over here so I can see everything clearly. I'm going to name these lower roof and upper roof. So click here, lower roof, upper roof, like that. And we are going to add views. So I go to view, plan views, floor plan, select lower and upper roof, select OK, and there we have it. So you can start by drawing these walls, the wall here and this one. It looks like we could have just columns and the railing. That seems plausible, just columns and railing. It would actually make more sense. So what we'll do is we'll go to architecture, go to wall, and instead of setting the constraint for the top to lower roof, we set it all the way to upper roof because that's where this wall is going to reach. And then we can just draw it. We draw the second one. like this. All right, now we are not going to add these columns. Actually, there are some columns that I placed over here in the structural plans. We use those ones instead, and we can add the slab in this area. So we go to architecture, select floor, and I could even use a rectangle and pick something like this area over here. Now, one thing I forgot was this space. So I'm going to edit the boundary and quickly add it. I will check later, right, to make sure that this space is not too large. For now, I can't see because the railing is in the way. Let's unjoin whatever it says in this unjoin and look at it in our 3D view. I need to hide this DWG, so I hide it, and yeah, everything seems to be in order. Everything seems to be in order. Let's go back to our service floor and see what we can add. So there's a shorter wall that runs through this part like that. You also have the same thing on the other side. We have this part, right, which I decided to fill with concrete. You have the roof gutters as well. If you look at the DWG, yes, with this one we can actually see the roof gutter, and we can also see the roof framing, so the rafters and the purlins. We are also not going to add these ones in the architectural model. We'll do them in the structural model. So let's just add in the walls. We know the wall is supposed to be where this coping is. So even in Revit, without having to import any other view, I go to wall, and I'm going to use a line tool. So I gauge where I think the center is going to be, like that. Okay, now I don't want this to go to upper roof. For now, let it go to lower roof. It's actually going to be below. Okay, it's going to be at the lower roof, exactly, because we defined that level. Then let's continue. I hope I have the center. No, let me start from here. I can always align the wall if it's not exactly in the center. Draw up to here. Draw another one that goes all the way up, like that. I can actually make this smaller, like that. I see that it looks like I have to move this wall a little. Let's use AL. As our line tool, select this, select that, bring it down. Okay, looks fine now. Let's look at it in 3D. Good. So we have the longer walls, and we have these ones which are shorter. So I go back to service floor, can select these walls, and I can mirror them. So I can use the draw axis. Now remember, this grid line 5 doesn't look like it's exactly in the middle. Yes, I can see like there's a slight difference, ever so slight. Let's use move it there, and everything else seems fine. Everything else seems fine. I guess we can add the railing just so that this place doesn't look too empty. So we go to architecture, and under circulation, where we have the stair, we see railing. So we can use the railing tool by either placing it on a stair. So if you drew a stair like this and that stair didn't have a railing, you could use this. Or if you just want to sketch a path for the railings, like no stair, just like an empty space, you can use the line tool, you can use the rectangle, any of these ones. I'm going to use the line tool. I think the railing will go all the way from here to here. Yeah, it's going to pass through my columns, but I mean, this is not the most accurate representation of what's actually going to happen. And it's fine. It says that railing should be one single connected sketch. Alright, so I'll draw just the first one. I have the first railing. Let's look at it in 3D. Yes, so like that. Let's look at the section BB. Okay, so it's not the same type of railing, but it's close enough. It's something. And we go back to our service floor. We could actually just copy this. Okay, let's draw it again. That should be better. So architecture and the circulation sketch path. We do this. Okay. Now, just like with most of the other families, there are different types. Maybe if you go to 3D, you can see there's this one. This one. You have the glass panel. I actually like this. I think it goes with everything. So I'll keep this. Yes, I'll keep this. And we can load a lot more railing families, just like how I showed you. But we are not going to do that. And okay, so now we can add our wall coping. Revit actually has a tool for that, just that it's not going to give us the effects that we desire, but just so that you know that option exists. When we go to wall and architecture, don't click here. Click on the drop down and select wall sweep. This is what we have. You can see there's a highlight, right? Now we have the option to choose between horizontal or vertical sweeps. So this is horizontal. If I change it to vertical, this is what it would look like. So just click where I want the sweep to be. Now, sometimes when you click, even though it's been placed, it might not appear. You just have to zoom in and out. And yeah, you can see it. So I can press escape. And now I can select the sweep. So that's the shape. Now, this sweep has a square cross section. But if, for example, I wanted a different cross section, I would have to change the profile of the sweep. And to do that, you select the sweep, go to edit type, then under this profile section, you can switch between the profiles that you have loaded in the project. So you can load other profiles if you feel like this isn't what you want. If I go to apply, yes, you can see that the profile of the sweep has changed. Now it seems like the sweep is inside the wall. So what I can do is change this value over here, which says offset from wall. And this looks like it will be somewhere around 20, 25. That's me guessing. Oh, nice. So yeah, 20 seems to work just fine. And now we have our sweep like this. Let's set to realistic. Let me turn off my edges. Good. So this is what it looks like. But this isn't what we want. We want our sweep to be on this part of the wall, on the top of the wall. Now, to do something like that, we are going to have to model our own family. So things are going to get a bit more complex here. And the way we do that is either to use structure or architecture. But since this is an architectural family, we will go to component and architecture, click on the drop down and click on model in place. Then we are supposed to specify the category which the family we are creating is going to fall under. So if what you want to create is like a window family, you choose window, but in this case it falls under a wall coping. Since there's no specific wall coping family, we can just choose walls, and let's name it something like wall coping, like that. Then this is what we get. So this is the family creation tab, right? Let me see the family creation ribbon, and there are different types of tools that we can use. We have extrusion, blend, revolve, sweep, swept, blend. Then we have the void forms. We have also a bunch of other stuff. For now, I'm not going to go into detail about what all of these do. Probably I could make a whole different tutorial series on family creation, because it's actually very interesting. All we need to know is what we are creating is a sweep. So we select this sweep option. Then what we are going to do now is pick the path that the sweep is supposed to follow. So remember that the sweep is made up of a certain shape. So the shape in Revit is called a profile, and you can think of it as the cross section of the sweep. And what this cross section is going to do is going to move along a path to give us the shape that we desire. So we go to this pick path option because we want to pick an existing path, and I'm going to select these edges of the walls like that, and as usual you're going to have to trim them. So I use my trim extend to TR like that. We have this nice path. I click here to finish, and there are two things here. We could either choose from an existing profile, there are a bunch of profiles here, or we would create our own. So if I choose maybe something like, let's see, rectangular handrail, you notice that yes, now there's this shape, but this isn't what we want. If I should choose something like slab edge, good. You see, this actually looks like something we could use, but it's not there yet. Yeah, it's missing a few things. So you get the point. You can either choose an existing profile or you just sketch your own. I don't want to use this, so I can change it to by sketch, back to by sketch. And what I'll do is I go to edit profile, and that allows us to draw our own profile. Now let's say I was to go to, let's see, one of the section views. Let's see if I can change this to wireframe. If I do, I'm not seeing the profile of the sweep. But anyway, we can use this one, and I'll just drag it to that side. Now if you want to quickly make all your lines thin without having to edit the layers and all of that, at the very top here there's this option that's called thin lines, and it shows that the shortcut is TL. If I turn it on, all the lines are going to have the same line width. It should be either 0 or 1. I'm not too sure about the value. I usually don't do this because I want a degree of thickness so I can easily identify some things. What I'm going to do now is just outline the shape that we have here like that, and I don't want the shape to be here, so I'm going to move it. I use MV and I'll bring it down to this side, yes, where we have our sweep, and I just click on OK and click on OK again. Let's go to our 3D view, and bam, yeah, we have our sweep. This looks okay, looks like exactly what we need. So I can just click on finish model, and our sweep has been placed. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's see if we can find it on the lower roof. Good. I see my sweep over here, and we can just mirror this. So with the sweep selected, we can use the pick axis mirror tool, since axis 5 is sort of in the middle. Yes, once we click, the sweep moves to the other side. Then we would probably have to align this a bit. So let's see. No, we can't see it in the service floor. Well, maybe it's fine, right? Doesn't have to be exact, 100% exact. We could also add the sweep over here. Right now, okay, we could do something cool. Remember I said there's supposed to be a beam around the side. So if we look at, do we see here? Good. We see this wall here, but because this wall is supposed to support some of these things, I decided to make it a concrete beam. But we could actually model this wall just so we could place the sweep on it. So I'll model a wall here and there. Again, you're going to use the base offset from the lower roof, offset it by a certain value, then make it end at upper roof. Yeah, pretty cool. So we get to apply what we learned in, I think, the first or the second video. So let's go to the lower roof. Yes. And the wall that we are going to draw is going to be here, like that. We could even use the service floor just so that everything you are doing is actually aligned. Good. So the wall is supposed to follow this path. So I go to architecture, I select wall, and this doesn't matter for now. You can change it from service floor to upper roof, and I'll draw it like this all the way to here. I draw a second one from here, that seems like the center line, to here. Okay, so we have these two walls, this one and this one. If we were to go to our lower roof, yes, we see them over here. Now this is not supposed to start at the service floor, so we go to section AA. I can see the wall. Let's see if we can change this. Good. In hidden line, we can see everything clearly now. What we are going to do is first change the base constraint to lower roof. Good. It moves up. That one also moves up. But it's not even going to be at exactly the lower roof. It's going to be offset by a certain value, right? So what we can do is we apply a base offset. We can actually measure what the value is supposed to be. So DI selects this, and I can see a tiny part of the wall here. So I click here, and it's exactly 832, which is a weird figure, but let's do it anyway. So I select both like that, then I set my base offset to 832. Good. And our wall moves exactly to that point. I can see that this wall is supposed to shift a bit right to this side. So I select it, type MV, move it. Let's see if something like that happens on the other side too. Okay, so the other side is fine. Let's look at it in 3D. Good. So we have something like this, and the columns in the architectural plan would have been in between here, supporting this part, but that's not how we have it in the structural model anyway. So you can draw the coping on these walls as well. One neat trick is, instead of having to draw the profile all over again, right, I can select this. Let's see. So in section BB, okay, I can see section BB. What I'll do is I'll copy this like that, and I have this new profile with my 3D view. I double click to edit it. I double clicked again. Actually, no. So I double click to edit it. Go to edit sweep. Then with the sweep selected, I go to pick path, right? Now I'm going to change this path now. Let's delete these old lines and make sure pick 3D edges is selected like that. I'm going to pick these 3D edges. Oh, it actually didn't work, but that's fine. Let's trim and extend like that. So we now have the 3D path. Then what we'll do is, oh, our profile is here. If we go to OK, good, it worked. It worked. What a relief. I just had to change where the paths were. It didn't update first until I clicked on OK, finish. And we can finish it and we save our project. So now we have our sweeps done. We are going to add the slabs in the structural plans, right? We do the same over here. I think we should add some railing. I'm pretty sure there's some railing over there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's check. It would make sense for there to be railing there. We can actually add the railing. So let's first look at this in 3D. This is what we have in 3D. We put a railing all around it. So we go back to service floor. Then we can hide this DWG now. That should be SF. Good. Nothing is showing here. So we'll go to architecture, select railing, and let's just place it somewhere like this. Actually, I have to edit that shape like this. The railing is not continuous at this side, so I'll check it whether I'm done. One side is supposed to be open. Good, so it's supposed to be this side. Go back to my service floor and I select my railing, edit path, drag this somewhere like here, maybe even here. Let's go back to 3D, and yeah, this looks okay. Looks okay. It's believable. I can change the family also to the glass one because I like the glass one. Yes. And this is what we have. We have the railing here as well. Now, so I mentioned that we're going to add some curtain walls because when we look at the ground floor, at this side, right, there's supposed to be a glass door. Maybe you can see it clearer in the DWG. Yes, over here. Because this is the entrance. It's not the regular type of door like these ones. So we're going to add that. But if you look at the 3D view, if we were to add a door here, right, or a door that continued all the way to the very top, it would mean that even on the first floor, second floor, third floor, the people in the house will be able to open here. And there's nothing here. So essentially we'll be killing them, right? Which is very bad. So what we can do is let's create a separate wall over here. Then we'll make that wall, which is going to be a curtain wall, into a door, and with the others it's just going to be plain glass with no opening. So what I'll do is, with this wall selected, I'll change the base constraint to the first floor, actually, like that. I go to ground floor, go to architecture, and I'll draw in a new wall, maybe somewhere like this to there. Yes, let's do everything in 3D. So I really appreciate what we are doing. Now with the wall selected, we go to where we can change the wall family, and instead of choosing any of these, we come to where it says curtain wall, and the curtain wall we want to use should be storefront. You can load in other curtain walls, because I don't want us to load in other families for now. You can just use the storefront, and this is what the storefront looks like. It's not the most exquisite looking door, but it gets the job done. So sometimes my mouse sort of like zooms out, and when we select this one, we use the same procedure, but instead of selecting storefront, we select curtain wall, and yes, you can see that it's replaced with glass. Now this looks nice. We've actually come a long way. Look at our building. Yes, it's looking very, very nice. Okay, so now that we have our curtain walls, let's add in our staircases. We have 3 of them. So we have one here, another one here, and another one here. What we can do is to check the dimensions of the stair before we actually draw any of them. So we can go to a section view, section AA, seems okay. If we can't see everything in section AA because some stuff are in the way, we can use the architectural file. Good. And this is the staircase. So we have a tread depth of 300 and a riser height of 150. You can measure that here as well in case you want to. We have 300, 150, 150, and we have 3 risers. So 1, 2, 3. Another thing I want us to take note of is the fact that the stair is actually below the ground floor level, goes below ground floor level, and it's offset by a value of 450. The base is at a value of 450 below the ground floor level, because when we measure the distance from here to there, we get 450. I hope that makes sense. So we have 1, 2, 3 risers. We go to our ground floor and go to architecture, go to stair, make sure we are using the monolithic stair. This is not going to be the top level anymore. So what we do is we set the base level right to ground floor, all right, but we offset it by negative 450. Then we set our top level to ground floor. I hope that's making sense. Right, now what we need to do is change the tread depth. It's supposed to be 300. We confirmed that earlier, right? And okay, our location line set to run center. We can measure this dimension, but I believe it's 2500 like we have over there. And if I was to draw my stair, I'll check it in 3D, and this is what we have. Good. So this is correct, but I don't like the fact that there's a railing here. I doubt that they would have a railing for this stair. Now don't worry about the fact that these walls don't go all the way down. Now they will, right? They will, but it'll probably not be visible to everyone. They will in the structural plan. What I can do now is just copy this over to this side. Then I'll edit the stair, drag this here like that, and just copy this also to the other side. So I could either copy or mirror, whichever one you want to do. Copy it here, edit this, I edited by double clicking, and now we have the other stair. Let's look at our work in 3D. Good. Everything is looking very nice. If you go to the section view, yes, we have our stair here, looking very nice. So that is actually it for the architectural model. Yes, you've all done very well. Congratulations. You now have a nice looking architectural model, except for these spaces here. Like I said, we are going to fill them in the structural model, so don't think too much about them. Yes. Aside that, you've modeled staircases, you've modeled railings, you've added windows, you've added doors, you even added some curtain walls. You've done basically everything you need to know when it comes to working in an architectural project. Now, the only things that we could probably add are some families, right? Let's see if we can add some of them. So, go to architecture. What haven't we added? What haven't we added? Let's go to insert. Let's go to load family. We are not going to use any of these, so we go back again, go to English, and we select UK. Now we have a bunch of different families. Let's see if good. So we have some furniture families over here. If I double click here, we have beds, we have seating. So if I was to choose a bed family, these are some of the families we have. I think I like this one. So if I select this, the family has been imported. If I go to components, place a component, now you can see we have this bed here. Now can click, this is our bed. We can view it in 3D. If we drop the section box all the way down, good. Yes, you can see my lovely little bed here. So I go back to ground floor. Let's see what else we can add. So components, place a component. Okay, let's load in some other stuff. So architecture, place a component, then we can load some families. So let's go back, can add some seating. So we have chairs, different chairs. Let's just add like some of these. Don't think about the fact that this is not a bedroom. Now when you are adding components, if you want to rotate them, you can press space bar and it just rotates like that. You can place one here, rotate, place another one there. You can choose some other components. So you get a point, right? You can add all of these stuff. Aside furniture, let's see what else. Parking. No, I don't want any of these. Sites. You can even add a post box. Interesting. You can add some bins, stop signs. You see, so there are a lot of different families that you can add to the project. So in your own time, you can explore. I was trying to see if I could find a car. There's a car somewhere, but I can't find it. Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, you get a point. So that's how you add your families in. You go to 3D, you can see them. Good. Now I'll drag this back up. so that we can see everything. And this will be the end of the architectural model. So in the next video, we're actually going to look at the structural model. Don't worry, it's going to be far shorter than this one. The structural model is more straightforward. The only difficulties arise when you try to do some structural detailing, right? But I wouldn't also cover structural detailing in this course. I would rather make it a separate course, because I'll need to go into a lot of detail in that one. So feel free to go over everything that I discussed in this video. You can even customize your building a little. If you want some curved parts of the building, you can draw curved walls somewhere, I don't know, add some more windows, change the window family. So if you want to change the window family, right, you can go to architecture, you select window, you can go to load family, then you browse to windows. You can choose any of these. You have quite a number of windows. If you want a different door type, do the same thing. Select the door, go to architecture, browse to doors, and choose what you want. So that is it. I'll see you all in the very next video.